What's going on, guys? You're listening to The Engine, and as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, my hair is gone. Thank you so much for 200 subscribers. Here's to 200 more. We've got a great video for you guys today. We're talking about the winners of the NFL draft offseason, whatever. We've got winners coming now, losers coming later. If you're wondering, because I know I am, when's the next top 50 NBA players of all time video coming? It's on the way. Don't worry about that. But we've got a list of our winners of the NFL offseason, including draft and free agency. Let's get into it. I've got my first one here of our list. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of people are saying that they had the best free agency, but we're not going to rank them because we don't know yet. But notable free agency signings and trades. They got Tom Brady, who is considered the GOAT. Rob Gronkowski in the draft. They got Tristan Wirfs. And who is considered the GOAT. Rob Gronkowski in the draft. They got Tristan Wirfs. Antoine Winfield Jr., Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt, Nick Freeman, Nick Falk. What are our initial thoughts about the Buccaneers? They're definitely a winner, but what are our thoughts?
My initial thought is the Buccaneers went from a mediocre team with little potential at Jameis Winston at quarterback to a Super Bowl contender right away, maybe even the Super Bowl favorite. They had a great draft, able to get their tackle in the first round, who I think will be decent year one and be a cornerstone piece of the future. It just shows Tom Brady. I don't understand why every team isn't like this, because the Buccaneers' aggression turned them into a Super Bowl team right away. Why is every team not following that lead?
Yeah, I think one of the things you have to point out is the economic benefit for the Buccaneers. People are going to know the Buccaneers as like a world-renowned franchise after Tom Brady's been there only for a couple years, which just cannot be understated. Even if they win, even if they don't win. Gronk is a great sign, but obviously Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield, those are two of the best prospects in the draft, and just had an amazing draft along with probably the best free agency.
They were complete steals, and a lot of people were saying, like, look at the influence Tom Brady already has. People are saying that he called in. Nick Freeman, I've got a question for you. If you were Tom Brady, this is similar to what LeBron does on the Lakers. He runs the team like a GM. If you were Tom Brady, were you the person who made the call to tell him to trade up and get Tristan Wirfs? Because that's what a lot of people are saying he did.
I don't really associate the NFL and NBA like that. Like, there are 22 players on a field in the NFL versus 10 in the NBA. I just feel like it's more of a controlled by the players organization in the NBA. The NFL, I feel like Brady wouldn't do that. I just think the Buccaneers know what Brady would want them to do. It's more of the Buccaneers thinking, if we have a chance of getting this tackle, we got to go all in for him.
So you don't think that Tom Brady made the? You don't think Tom Brady? Falk, do you think Tom Brady made the call?
I don't think he's making that call.
Yeah, I clearly agree with Nick. I definitely think he has a profound influence on the Buccaneers right now. He is the Buccaneers, but he doesn't make the calls. They were doing that call in favor of Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't say, "Oh, just Wirfs is still on the board. Let me go get Tom Brady now." The Bucs said, "Oh, we have Tom Brady. We need to get Tristan Wirfs."
This season, or this offensive line was obviously very weak. It was obviously a very good move. I'm sure Tom Brady, if he did make the call or if he didn't, he's very, very happy for the call. Moves this into our next team. Nick Freeman.
Yeah, well, with the Buccaneers, they have an outstanding receiver core. Now it's going to lead me into the Denver Broncos, who just put together what looks to be one of the best receiving cores of the future. Jerry Jeudy in the first round. He was my number one receiver. He was Nick's also. One of the best route runners coming out of college ever. One of the best wide receiver prospects, period. KJ Hamler, he's just an absolute burner. So the three of them, Jeudy, Hamler, and Sutton, for the future, they just put so much skill around Drew Lock. In the rest of the draft, also, they got a fast tight end in Albert O. Netani Muti, who was an absolute steal later. Graham Glasgow in free agency. So those two, that pick and Graham Glasgow, is going to shore up that offensive line, which was pretty weak last year. There are still some worries with Garrett Bowles, but I think they've really turned into a playoff contender. Also, they got Melvin Gordon, so they will have, I think, a really strong offense, good run game, and just receivers that are setting them up to succeed.
Yeah, and I think you have to throw in Jarrell Casey. That's also they got him for a 7th-round pick. That's absolutely insane.
And Falk, sorry to cut you off, but you can't understate. They got A.J. Bouye, too. This defense is completely overhauled. They're completely
absolutely
better.
Insane. Yeah, their defensive side's been amazing, but honestly, I might even put them in this just because of Jerry Jeudy. I love Jerry Jeudy. I think at 15, he's an absolute steal. I know that's probably just how the board played out, but I think Jerry Jeudy can make an impact on any team he goes to, regardless of its if it's good at developing wide receivers. So I think it's just an amazing pick, amazing offseason for the Broncos. That moves me into
I don't think Jerry Jeudy is my number one overall receiver. I think that I'm more of a CeeDee Lamb guy, but that is, like you said, how the board went out. People have different opinions. I'm not here to argue or whatever, but you look at this team and they're completely better. I think they're already a top 10 team in the NFL. I think it's honestly indisputable at this point. They're definitely a top 10 team in the NFL.
I think
they're going to be for the wild
I think
card.
Drew Lock hasn't proven himself to be a top 10 NFL quarterback or a top 10 team in the NFL quarterback who can lead them. But if he does have a breakout year, absolutely they're a playoff contender and maybe a deep playoff contender.
I think their offseason has skyrocketed them up on the NFL power rankings, but I'm not sure I can trust Drew Lock yet. They put him in a situation where he almost had to thrive. They just basically threw slant routes. They made him throw slant routes the whole time last season, so he still needs to prove himself. That's what I'm worried about with the Broncos. All right, the Cardinals. I think these guys might be my offseason winners, but an amazing draft. Isaiah Simmons, they love versatile players. They got Budda Baker, a bunch of these other guys in the past, but Isaiah Simmons is the best versatile player in draft history, probably. I think you guys would agree with me on that. And Josh Jones in the third round, I think some people had him going as high as 15 to the Broncos, and he falls to the third round. It's probably the Cardinals' biggest need. And come on, DeAndre Hopkins, they literally got a top 3 wide receiver to help Kyler Murray. This was just an amazing offseason, and despite them being in possibly the hardest division in the NFL, they might be a top 5 team going to next year.
Falk, I totally agree with everything you said. You get DeAndre Hopkins. How big is it to get a young quarterback, a stud receiver? You get a 3 receiver pretty much for nothing. Kyler Murray was great last year. I think he's going to be great this year with DeAndre Hopkins. And you get Isaiah Simmons. This cannot be understated. How did he go to 8? That's absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe. I bet the GM of the Cardinals can't believe, or Cliff Kingsbury can't believe, that he fell to 8. This guy's an absolute freak. I'd say he's the second most athletic player in the draft outside of Chase Young. Excuse me. Chase Young's an absolute beast, but he might be the most athletic. It's arguable, but this guy's an absolute beast. I don't know if they're going to be a top 5 team, but they're going to be competing for a wild card. They've made the NFC West. Honestly, arguable. I don't know if the 49ers are going to win it next year. It's arguable.
Yeah, top 5. Come on. They're not top 5.
I'm not saying top 5. In terms of talent, some people might have them top 5 after retaining a top 3 receiver.
The big Isaiah Simmons fans. I know he's got a lot of posters in his room, but he's getting a little ahead of himself. Okay, he's getting a little ahead.
I did not see it. I said possibly a top 5 team. I did not say
DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute stud. There's no arguing. So giving Kyler Murray a number 1 receiver is going to do them wonders. One thing I loved, though, with that Isaiah Simmons pick is I was a little worried this team, led by Cliff Kingsbury, was just going to completely ignore the defensive side of the ball. And getting such a do-it-all player on the defense, who was probably the best player available at that time, really showed me this team is not just going to be a Cliff Kingsbury air raid offense that ignores defense completely like a Big 12 team. This is a full, complete NFL team that is ready to compete. And then they still were able to help out that offense later in the draft with Josh Jones, who I think is definitely a first-round caliber player.
Moving on to the next winner, we've got the Indianapolis Colts. And here's why. They got DeForest Buckner, which is an absolute steal to me. That's their best defensive player already. You get Xavier Rhodes. I wasn't huge on that signing for Xavier Rhodes. He's kind of just gets he gets a pass interference call every other second, but whatever. You get Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers fits in with the system so much better than Jacoby Brissett ever could. It's not even close to me. And you get Michael Pittman in the draft in the first round. Okay, whatever. Then you get Jonathan Taylor, which is unbelievable to me. That's extremely biased, but whatever. You have Marlon Mack already. Now you have Jonathan Taylor. You have an A-plus backfield for the next 5-7 years. I think the backfield is going to be unbelievable. You get Julian Blackmon. You take care of your safety issue. And you get Jacob Easton, who could be your quarterback for the future. We don't know because Phillip Rivers is only there for 1 year until they re-sign him, maybe. But this Colts team was completely overhauled. I love what they're looking at. And because of the horrible offseason that the Houston Texans had, I think they're totally in a place where they could win the division next year, 1,000,000%.
I 100% agree. The Easton pick was smart just because it's worth taking a flyer in the 4th round. I'm not saying he is their future quarterback, but with Rivers on a 1-year deal, that's smart. Buckner, at first, I didn't really love the deal, but seeing the Niners take Javon Kinlaw, I'd rather have DeForest Buckner. And I think they needed interior pressure so badly that I think they fit he's a perfect fit there and is going to be a stud there. I wouldn't say best defender. It's still Darius Leonard. Then Xavier Rhodes, even though he is kind of washed up and he got cut, I think he's going to do a lot better on this Colts team. It's a little bit less pressure on him. Like, they run more of a laid-off scheme than the Vikings, so I think he can do better. Then what you said with Jonathan Taylor, this guy's a dog. He's going to be putting up 1,000 yards in his first few seasons. He's a little ran out, so he might not be a 10-year running back, but he's a dog, and I think Philip Rivers has never had this kind of supporting cast, this kind of offensive line. Pittman's going to be a great receiver for him, and this run game is going to help him out a ton.
I mean, I love the Jonathan Taylor pick. Might be my favorite. I wanted the Steelers to get him so bad. But if you think about it, people didn't like Jonathan Taylor because, he was running on possibly the best O-line in the country. Now he goes to probably the best O-line in the NFL. He's going to do absolutely amazing. Michael Pittman, probably my favorite receiver for his value, besides Jerry Jeudy in the draft. I'm not saying he's number 2. I'm saying for value. But absolutely insane offseason for the Colts. I would say DeForest Buckner is the best player in their defense, by the way. I think they're definitely the best team in the AFC South, and just a great offseason for the Colts.
I think they win that division. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. We say this too often, but this year I actually believe it. They were an offseason winner. First off, last year their biggest weakness was that offensive line. Baker Mayfield could not survive. That was at 10, who's an absolute steal, the number 1 tackle on my board. He's going to be a great left tackle for them for the future and probably at the beginning. Then Jack Conklin, 3 year $42 million when there were rumors of him getting paid up to $20 million a year. That was another really great signing. They shored it up. And then they had a really nice draft later with Grant Delpit, who helped fit that box safety or just full-on safety role, and also Jordan Elliott, who was a steal in the 3rd round. And finally, the most important thing the Browns did, got rid of Freddie Kitchens, put Kevin Stefanski in there, who he might not be the best coach in the NFL, but he's not going to be the worst.
Interesting way to put it, Nick Freeman, but I think you forgot. They got Jacob Phillips, too. Underrated linebacker pick, but he's got the chemistry with Grant Delpit. They're going to be able to work together. You have an instant friend on the team. They're going to be able to work together. I love this Browns team. I sound like people from last year. I sound like people from the year before, but I love what this Browns team did. I'm hoping for the future that they can be really good. I said it to Nick Falk, who's a Steelers fan, if you didn't know before the video. Just upset him a little bit, but I do believe this. I think the Browns are already better than the Pittsburgh Steelers are. They're not better than the Ravens. They're definitely better than the Bengals. This Browns team can potentially, hopefully, I know we're all hoping because we're all rooting for them. We want the Browns in the playoffs. Finally, could this be the year? I don't love Baker, but you give Baker all this talent. You give him Odell. You give him Conklin. You give him Austin Hooper. You give him all this talent in front of him. He has to do something with it. I think he will. Nick Falk, what do you think?
Okay, so I did not have the Browns in my top 5. I thought that they had a great offseason. The only reason I thought they had a great offseason was they filled literally every need. Every need they had. Their biggest problem was offensive line, and they got the best tackle in the class, in my opinion. I was really pissed off when he fell to them. But their best move by far had to be firing Freddie Kitchens. He was just like an absolutely horrendous coach. So that's the thing that scares me the most as a Steelers fan, is them moving on from a horrendous coach. But they're still the Browns, and I'm not worried. So
you're not worried?
No.
Just because of the Brown stigma?
As long as Ben Roethlisberger's beard is on his face, I would be worried if I was a Steelers fan. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you click onto the losers video. We're going to be doing that soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Check out the next video. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.